Welcome to Empowered and Unstoppable, the show where high-achieving women crush self-doubt, ditch imposter syndrome, and step boldly into their greatness. I'm your host, Megan Bunnell, and together we'll unlock the mindset, strategies, and confidence you need to create unstoppable success on your terms. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Empowered and Unstoppable, the show where high-powered women come to get inspired, get real, and get the tools they need to design a life that really lights them up. I'm your host, Megan Bunnell, a transition and success coach, unapologetical dreamer, and a firm believer that you can have it all without burning yourself to the ground in the process. So every week we talk to extraordinary women who've built extraordinary lives, and they'll be the first to tell you it didn't happen by accident. Today's guest is no exception. And in fact, her whole career pivot started with a very loud nudge from the universe to burn it all down. And she listened. I am so excited to have Bri Seeley with us today. Bri is a TEDx speaker, success coach, award-winning businesswoman who helps ambitious high achievers bring their most unrealistic goals to life without overworking, underliving, or sacrificing themselves in the process. She's been on so many things: Good Morning America, The Today Show, Forbes, Entrepreneur, and Women's Health, and some more. And she's also the author of Permission to Leap, which feels very on brand for her because she's basically made a career out of taking giant leaps. From shutting down a successful fashion business literally 72 hours after being told this isn't it, to building an even more impactful business helping others design long-term sustainable success. Bri is living proof that when you combine clarity with courage and commitment, magic happens. Bri, thank you for being here and welcome to Empowered and Unstoppable.
Thank you. And spoiler alert for people listening, I'm also currently in the midst of another big leap in my life too. So as you said, I have made a career out of leaping pretty much since one of the first big ones I can remember, I was like 14. And it's just been my life for the last 30 years. So here we
I
go.
love it. Well, we'll get to that because I'm excited to hear all about that for sure. But before we dive straight into the juicy stuff, I ask all of my guests this question because it's a peek into their real life and it's a little bit of fun. So, what is one thing you do behind the scenes, whether it's quirky or weird or just very human, that your audience or followers would never guess about you?
I have taken up baking. I love and so I have a ton of food allergies, and then my husband is lactose intolerant. So I bake. In fact, I made our wedding cake in October. Uh,
What?
yeah, it was carrot cake with a
Mm.
blackberry compote filling and
Mm.
dairy-free cream cheese, buttercream frosting. So I bake the most incredible sugar-free, grain-free, and lactose-free desserts. And everyone's like, doesn't it just taste like garbage? And then I feed it to them and they're like, this is delicious. So it's kind
Well,
of how I stay sane a little bit. And I
yeah,
spend
I
way too
love
much
that.
money baking, and then I have to eat it all. Just kidding. I usually
Oh,
like
darn.
give it to neighbors and like invite people
Yes.
over and try to like spread the love, because I'm like, even though it's quote unquote healthy, I still don't need to eat the entire cake myself, you know.
No, fair, fair. Well, and I want you to know that I think bakeable goods are shippable. So you can just ship one to me anytime, and I would be happy to give you amazing feedback about how it made my taste buds so very happy.
Friend of mine this year was like, you should really open like a healthy bakery in town. And I was like, absolutely not. Like that's, and then it's so funny. I opened up TikTok yesterday and it was like, here are the reasons not to turn your hobby, like not to monetize your hobby. And I was like, yeah, I just need something that I just
I
enjoy and I
yeah,
can put a record on and just dance around the kitchen and make a mess and then have something delicious to eat afterwards.
absolutely, that you just love. I love that, I love it. Okay, so you did give us a little preview, but we're gonna pause that preview because I would love for our listeners to hear the story. So closing down your fashion business in 72 hours, because I think most people would have absolutely ignored the voice the gut, right? The direction that you were just internally feeling and just kept pushing through, probably for years, right? I mean, I think
Well,
that's human nature.
and this is the thing, I had been.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, then
Like
fill us in.
I had been pushing in my fashion business for years. I'd had my label for about 8 years and I'd had some great success with it. I had been picked up by Zappos.com. I've dressed Toni Braxton. My stuff has been on The Bachelor. It's dressed the woman who sang the national anthem at like the Knicks game. Like
Success.
all sorts of ridiculous success.
Boom.
And
Yes.
behind closed doors, I was riddled between panic attacks
Oh,
and depression. So I was either freaking out or in the fetal position. And there was like literally no in between. It was like a pendulum back and forth.
uh,
And I had very poor health. I didn't have a personal practice. I wasn't taking care of me. Everything about my life was trying to push towards this success.
mm,
And so behind closed door, everyone was so shocked and surprised. And I'm like, it was kind of no surprise to me because I'd been feeling terrible for years.
oh,
And so it was spring equinox 2015. To set the stage for you, a week prior to that, I had been invited by this woman to go to this retreat for the weekend. And two of my girlfriends happened to be going. So I was like, cool, I'll go. It was my first foray into money mindset. I was into manifestation and law of attraction and Esther and Jerry Hicks and all that stuff. I'd never really dove into money mindset. So I
okay.
spend the weekend doing all this money mindset stuff. 3 days later, the woman messages me and is like, I think we're supposed to work together. And I was like, I think you're right. So I hired this $25,000 coach
Woo!
Wednesday night. Thursday morning, I totaled my car. I didn't have the proper insurance, and I literally got $600 cash for parts. If you live in LA, you can't not have a car.
No, no.
So, oh, and here's the funny part. Okay, so I get in this car accident. The first thought I haven't even put the car in park yet, is you have to fire that coach. And I was like, that is a weird
That's a
thought
weird first thought.
to have. Like, I'm not worried about myself. I'm not worried about the other people. Like, how,
I'm gonna fire this coach.
yeah, like 10 years later or whatever, I'm like, oh, my subconscious, like, I get how it all works now. But back then, I was like, that's a weird first thought. So I decide to keep the coach and then also get a brand new Lexus that I leased, whatever, but I couldn't really afford. 2 days after that, it's Saturday. I'm at a friend's house meditating for the spring equinox. That afternoon, I'm going to pick up that car. And I'm in this meditation and I feel this visceral, I describe it kind of like Thor's hammer. Thor like hits his hammer
Yeah,
and it like reverberates out, right? Like it's a
yeah.
visceral feeling. I feel this reverberation through my entire body and I hear, fashion isn't it, shut it down, walk away. So I had been ignoring the whispers
Okay.
for years, which most of us do, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Even in this current iteration that I'm going through, like I got the whisper 2 years ago. I got it. But then everything was going well. So why
Right.
would I change anything?
You found success. Yeah.
So that was on Saturday. I think it was by Monday or Tuesday. I announced online that I was shutting my fashion label down effective immediately. My parents found out about it on Facebook.
Oh,
Like
no.
I was just it to be honest, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, weren't you scared?" And I was like, it felt like someone took an elephant off my back. Like it
Oh,
felt like relief.
so
And
good. Yeah.
you're in a business that feels so stressful that the idea of shutting it down feels like a relief. You you
That's a sign.
you gotta go with that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a total sign.
I love it. I love it. I remember, so before I got into coaching, I had a very high powered job at Apple, like the computer company. And I feel like so many people were so, whatever word you want to put here, right? Like they were proud of me. They were excited for me. They just knew that I had made it. They like whatever. But the same thing, it was like that whisper. It's like, this is not for you. This is not what you're supposed to do. And then I got a little bit of a Thor's hammer and I had been in corporate America my whole life, right? Like whether it was in education or whether it was Apple or whatever. And I shut it down. I was like, I'm just going to start my own business. And the people closest to me were like, what? What are you doing? I'm just telling you, this is, I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. And yeah, it's great. But
And
that gut, that feeling, that whisper, it is worth listening to.
yeah,
100%.
this
A
is one of the
100%.
hardest parts, though, is that like the people outside of you can't see that. They can't
No,
see what your experience is. They can't see
no,
you waking up every day, hating your life and wanting to cry and rip your hair out as you're driving into your office. They can't, like, no one sees all that stuff. And then you
no,
have this vision of whatever's next. And again, no one can see that either. And
no.
so, and then the other thing that happens too is that people have their own fears and they start projecting their fears about what you're doing, not because you
Oh,
shouldn't do
yeah.
it, but because they wouldn't do it. And it
Yes.
becomes a little messy. And so I've learned pretty quickly that like when I'm in the midst of a lot of these things, I don't talk to a lot of people about it. And really, the only people I talk to about it are other people who are also doing like big, crazy, audacious things. My book club, or, like
Yeah.
those people, because there's so many people out there that wouldn't do the big thing. And
Yes.
they're telling you not to do the big thing, not because you shouldn't do the big thing, but because they wouldn't do it. And that's
Yes.
not a reason for you not to do it.
Yeah, you're just hearing their narrative, their story. It's not truth, it's not fact, and they're not hearing what's coming from within. And I think you've actually talked about the days of like running a marathon on a hamster wheel. I believe that quote like came from you. And I think that
Yep.
so many women listening are probably nodding aggressively. Like I'm in that. I'm feeling that right now. And I mean, I remember my own version of that, talking about leaving Apple or leaving administration or whatever. I was constantly busy, but I was never in my life in how I felt moving forward. So, what do you think was the first thing you changed that actually started pulling you out of that cycle that so many women are probably experiencing right now?
So I will say I've put a lot of things in place to help me with it. And I finally just admitted about 2 months ago that I don't actually want to scale this business that I'm currently running. So I've been, and this is part of my
Is this
big
that time? Is it
shift.
the time to share the story?
Not yet. I'll share
Okay,
more
not yet.
later.
Okay, okay,
But I
okay.
do I do want to preface this by saying that in the last 10 years, I've put a lot of things in place. And then I still built another business that was running. It was, it's been a lot of running and pushing and stuff like that. And so I'm also still coming to terms with like the next level of that experience in my life. Okay. So
Okay.
I just say that because I'm like, I'm not perfect. I don't want anyone to
Of
think that
course.
it was like, I put a morning practice in place and voila. Like,
7 minutes and I'm
yeah,
done.
right.
Yeah.
But that is one of the things, though, right? Is like I did put a personal practice in place. I have silence every single morning. I try to move my body every single morning. I journal. I have, and the reason is this, and I always say this to people, they're like, well, what should I do during my morning practice? And I'm like, I don't care what you do during your morning practice.
Right.
The reason we do a morning practice is what's important. And that reason is to be able to develop such a strong relationship with yourself that you know you better than anything in the world. Because
100%.
you are your GPS
Yes.
and you have to be tuned in to hear those whispers and to feel those nudges and to receive insights. And like if you're, I'm literally looking at my schedule on this other monitor over here. And like my week this week is like 9 a.m., 11 a.m., 12:30 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m. Then I have things I have to do tonight, tomorrow, 10, 11, 2, 3 to 5, date night, da 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 da. Right? Like we can get so caught up in all the
Yes.
things out there that if we aren't tuning into ourselves, we can get swept up and so out of alignment so quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things I did was really start to put into practice an even deeper relationship with myself. The other thing I will say I did, and this kind of goes hand in hand with this, is very similarly to like you were mentioning at Apple, like everyone's like, oh my gosh, you work for Apple. This is
So great.
amazing.
Yeah.
Megan's so successful, like, good
Right.
for you, all these
Yes.
things. And I'm like, here I was. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, Bri's auditioning for Project Runway. She's almost made it onto Project Runway. She's dressing celebrities. She's going
Wow.
on Zappos.com and
Look
walking
at her
runways and
go.
red carpets. And like, she's so
Yeah.
successful. But all of those things were leaving me empty at the end of the day. Like,
Yes.
none of them felt meaningful to me, or they were just like another box to tick, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so the other thing I did was really sit down, and this was spawned. I was dating someone at the time, and he texted me and was like, Bri Seeley, you're such an inspiration. Like, you're so remarkable. And I read it and I was like, that feels like a lie to me. I'm like,
Oh.
I don't feel inspirational. I don't feel successful. I don't like, I look around at my life and I'm not like, huzzah. Yeah, I'm like,
Right. Right.
cool. And so I really had to sit down and be like, what is success? If it's not the red carpets and the runways and dressing the America's Next Top Models and getting on TV and all these things, if that's not success to me, then what is? And again, I'll tell you that in the last 10 years, that definition has continued to evolve and change. I think obviously as naturally we grow as individuals and our lives
Yes.
change, like I mentioned, I met my husband 4 years ago. My priorities had to shift. I'm
Yeah.
no longer working, 17-hour days, 7 days a week because I want to spend time with him. Um,
Yeah.
so things have shifted and my priorities have shifted. And so my definition of success has had to shift as well. So I think those are probably two of the primary things that I did 10 years ago, again, that I keep doing because they're
Yeah.
not one and done, that have really helped me continue to, I don't want to say like, I guess continue to have resilience because
Yes.
it's never a question of if a storm is going to hit. It's always a question of like when.
When. Absolutely.
And so I don't look at it as like the goal is not to eliminate stress and fear. It's to build resiliency within myself to be able to navigate those things.
I love it. Well, and I really, I think that resilience is huge, and being in touch with what is important to you is a big piece of that. And I love so much that you said that, hey, this might be successful, but it's not successful to me, right? That's not my definition. And it might be ever evolving, like you said, but that's not my current definition of success. And I feel like I see this all the time. Women aren't burnt out because because they're doing too much necessarily. It's a lot of times they're burnt out because they're not doing what matters to them. And until you change that, there's no productivity hack, that's going to save you. I mean, yes, that morning ritual is incredibly important, but that's not going to fix it if how you're spending your time isn't valuable to you. And,
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite things that you teach is that success starts with identity. Right? It's tapping into that, not necessarily strategy. And you've said that most of us are trying to push a boulder up a mountain, right? With a toothpick, because we haven't done that subconscious work. So maybe you could kind of, I mean, I've, looked at your work and followed you and all the things, but maybe you can share an example of a time that you had to upgrade your identity before your results could catch up to really give them insight into what that means.
Well, welcome to my 2025. That has been my work all year this year. It's been pretty much my only work this year is,
Okay.
um, when our definition of success also becomes like a glass ceiling within
Mm-hmm.
us as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I, up until this point, have always had a personal brand and business. And the thing most people don't understand with a personal brand and business is that it's not really sellable. I actually know of a wedding designer who sold her wedding brand with her name on it, and she had to spend like 10 or 15 years suing the people that bought it to get the rights to use her name back.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Your very
So
own name.
personal brands aren't exitable. And I've always had, I guess I didn't realize it until April, but had this glass ceiling of like, well, I'm a personal brand. I have to have a personal brand. My business is me, it's my brand. And what I had one call with this woman, and she's like, "Yeah, I help women build exitable businesses." And I was like, "Come again?
Yeah.
What?
What is this?
Say that.
What?
Tell me more."
Yeah.
And I realized that, I've gone through these two iterations now where I'm like 8 years in and now 10 years in, kind of ready to shift. And I don't have any equity in a business to be able to sell it, to be able to move on to the next thing. And so
Right.
I've been like, all right, well, if I want to build a business that's not me, who do I need to be the leader of that business? Because then
Oh,
I'm showing up not just representing Bri Seeley, but representing a business that
right.
in 8 to 10 years, I want to get seven or multiple seven figures
You
for.
can leave. Right.
And so that's been a huge thing of mine this year. And so, for those of you that also don't know, I'm also a certified hypnotherapist. And so I basically have been quote unquote brainwashing myself all year into, okay, what is the thing I'm bumping up against? Cool. Let's go back to what the root of that is. Let's uproot it. Let's shift the perspective. And then what do we want in its place? And so I've been doing every 30 days, basically a new hypnosis on myself to start shifting that identity and start stepping into the woman who has one, possibly two exitable businesses on her hands and also is running a nonprofit that, like, all of those things aren't me. And so I've begun kind of decoupling my identity and I guess my personal worth or value from what I do in the world, because for the last 18 years that Venn diagram has just been a whole circle.
Well, and that's so beautiful, right? Because you really are not that business, right? And so if that Venn diagram was a circle and you sold it, where does that where does that leave you? Well,
Which
and
is
I hope it's not an illegal battle to fight for your name, right? But that's beautiful to, I think, really nail it down so that you do have an exitable business. Never heard that term before. I love it. Um, yeah, I think that's amazing.
and that circle Venn diagram is also what happened with my fashion label. So one day I'm a fashion designer and the next day I'm not a fashion designer.
What
And
am I?
I was young. I was 32. And yeah, I had to really deconstruct the fact that I had built an identity on something that was out there.
Yeah.
And when the out there went away, what was left?
What was left? Yeah.
So then I built myself up from the inside out, which is great. But then I also made that same thing my business. So
Yes.
now I have the built on the inside and I'm building something that's not me that
Not
I'll
identity. Yep.
yeah. So it's been a really interesting shift in, like, again, how I see myself and how I show up and who I am. And yeah, that's been my 2025, is being asked to upgrade my identity so that I can now, like, become the founder of a multiple seven-figure business. I'm also trying to pull in some business partners, things like that for this new venture that I'm building, because I'm
Yeah.
real clear that I'm sick of building stuff alone. I'm tired and
Fair.
I don't want to build it alone. I literally
Yeah.
manifested a shoulder injury last year and I looked up the, like, spiritual meaning. If you Louise Hay wrote a book called Heal Your Body, and she talks about how, like, each physical ailment has, like, an emotional underpinning to it. And the left shoulder injury said, carrying the weight of the world without joy. And I was like,
Hmm. You're like,
I,
that's on the nose.
that resonates so deeply. And she's not
Nailed
even
it.
alive anymore. And I just got owned by a dead woman. I'm like,
You're like,
great. This is
thank
super cool.
you for the book. And yes, I definitely can see myself in that.
Right?
It's funny because I feel like in our industry, which you can talk about where you're headed for sure, but in our industry, I feel like so often I come across the stereotype, the thought, the opinion, the whatever, that coaching, mentoring, whatever is like a luxury. I'm like, you have no idea the beauty of, and it doesn't have to be in a one-on-one coaching relationship, but the books that you read, the people that you follow, the podcasts that you listen to, or maybe it is a coach or a mentor or whoever that is in your life, the outside view and perspective that they can get and put you outside of the story that you're telling yourself so that you could be more true and one that's serving you is unbelievable. I mean, I think that we've all experienced the benefit of that, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way that I would be here right now if not for, I mean, I think I hired my first coach. It was pre 2013 because I left Washington then to move to LA. So it was like 2011, maybe I hired my first coach. And then, of course, in 2015, and then consistently over the last 10 years. And, you know, I always liken it like this: there's mice, and then there's eagles. And the mice are on the ground in the tall grass, like running around, literally only able to see like what's in front of them, which
Yes.
is us generally. Like that's
Yes. 100%.
every day. When you have a coach or a mentor, they're able to be the eagle. Now
Yes.
they're able to see 100 yards down the road a pothole that you can't yet see because you're in the weeds of it. And
Yes.
so there have been so many things that or opportunities or possibilities, or like, hey, there's this really cool big thing, like literally 10 feet to your left that you're just not seeing because you can't see it right now.
Pivot.
I would
Yes.
not I would not be here in my business if I didn't have people around me. And I still work with people. They don't always look like business coaches. You know, I have healers that I work with. I was seeing my shoulder healer this morning. Like I work with a whole range of people, energy modalities, business strategy, mindset stuff. Like it's all so important
Yes.
because, like I said earlier, we become our own glass ceilings. And
Yes.
we're not up leveling our identity, if we're not shifting our perspective, if we're not elevating ourselves past what we currently believe is possible, I mean, just wash, rinse, repeat for the rest of your life. But
Yeah.
like, I personally am not here for that.
No, and the thing is that it's not that you can't do it alone. You just don't have to, right? And
Oh,
it's so much better when you're not. And something that I've come across is I feel like people need um acceptance or agreement that what they want to do is the right thing. And I think some people do want to open their minds, their hearts, the possibilities to getting help, to getting support, to getting guidance. And you actually wrote a book that I think goes along perfectly with that, because we all sit around waiting. That's what I was going to talk about. We all sit around waiting for somebody to hand us permission for what we want to do or we think we need, and you wrote about it, permission to leap. So, where do you think that hesitation comes from? And how can they start giving themselves permission, whether it's with coaching or anything else, without waiting for that perfect moment that you and I know very rarely arrives?
does it ever? Does it ever?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it does.
Again, leaping for like 30 years, I don't think there's ever been a perfect moment.
You're a professional
Um,
leaper. That's your
I
new title.
should that be my like bio on LinkedIn, professional leaper
Professional leaper, 100%.
and puzzle enthusiast. Those are like
Yes.
my things.
Yes.
So I think a few things. One, our brains are a record of the past.
Yes.
So our brains are more like libraries. You go to them for data that's been written previously. Our brain, uh, they're not psychics. Our brain
Yep.
is not a psychic. So when we go to start thinking about this scary unknown, quote unquote, our brain immediately is like, shut it down. Nope,
Right.
we don't know that. We don't have that information. We can't do that. And so, literally, the biology, the neurology, whatever of your brain is designed to keep you from leaping.
Oh, yeah.
And so, one of the things I like to do, and speaking of resiliency earlier, is like, if you're ready, if you know you're ready to take a leap and you're scared, start looking back and make a list of all the times, even if it's been a small leap. Like,
Yes.
ooh, last week I took a new route home without my GPS, and like, look at me being resilient and finding my way home. Or I tried a new grocery store last week in order, like, and really truly start flexing that muscle in like small, small, small ways and begin proving to yourself, oh, I actually can do unknown things. Like I actually can walk into the unknown and I come out alive because of course our brains are very dramatic. Our brains are like, don't do anything scary. We're literally
Yes.
gonna die. Like we're not gonna
Literally. Yes.
die.
Yeah.
But like, okay. And so, I mean, I will have the silliest, craziest conversations. And I'll say too, as much as I've done this, right? Like shutting down my fashion label and doing this, leaving my corporate day job and becoming a full-time entrepreneur. I mean, I moved to Italy at 20, not knowing the language, not knowing a single person, not like nothing, just like up and moved to Italy. And
Love it.
so I think it's really important that we start to prove to ourselves and like document the resiliency that we have to do things in the unknown, because that's going to be kind of all you have to lean on as you start
Yeah.
taking this journey. Like you have to lean on yourself more than anything, because again, the people around you probably aren't going to get it. Believe
Nope.
me, I love my husband so much. We've had to have so many conversations around like, wait, so you're doing what now? And you're like, you're trying to build this thing and wait, are we going to be okay? Like it's people are going to think you're crazy, and that's part of why in my messaging I say like I help women go after unrealistic goals.
Yes.
And I say that tongue in cheek because are they unrealistic? No, but do other
No.
people think they are? Yes.
Yes. And they'll talk you out of them all day
Yeah.
long.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
I love my mom so much, and I recognize, right, like we live very different life experiences. When I was in Washington State, I was getting ready to move to LA, and like 2 months before I moved, she came to Washington and she was like, I really think you shouldn't move. And I had this moment
ooh,
where I was like, oh my gosh, is this a sign? Am I not
yeah.
supposed to move? Like, is
Yeah.
this?
My mom is telling me not to go.
Yeah. And in her defense, I'm her baby girl.
Yes.
She raised me as a single mom. I'm the oldest, and I have one younger sister who's 10 years younger than me. Like I'm her baby. And she couldn't imagine herself moving to LA. My mom would not be a happy camper living in LA,
That's the
right?
key. That's the
And
key, though.
so I had to again like decouple this idea that like was I supposed to move to LA? Yes. I was supposed to move to LA. Did I need my mom's permission to do it?
No,
No.
ma'am.
And not to spoil the end of the book because you should all read it. But at the end, I say, I've given you permission. But now the real thing is like, can you give yourself permission? Because that truly, it's the most important part. That's really all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell a lot of my clients, no one is coming to give you the gold star for your dreams, and no one is coming to sign that permission slip. You have to self approve, or you're going to be waiting forever. I mean,
I
nothing is going to change.
You can't see it, but above this painting here, I
Yeah.
made myself a PhD from
Let's go.
from the University of the Universe.
Let's go.
And it's for resiliency, courage, and determination with a minor in dark humor. And I was like, again, no one's coming to be like, you've
Nope.
struggled enough. Like you've
No.
fought hard enough.
Hey,
And
you
so
should start selling those and I'll buy one. I need that PhD right up here.
I think I
I
just
love
made
that
it on
so
like
much. I love
Canva or
it.
something, but it's framed. It's like I printed it out. The universe signed it. It's
I love
like
it.
the supervisor of all that is. Like
I
I
love
just
it.
because it's true. Like
Yes.
no one's coming to be like, "Okay, it's time. You've done enough." Like
Yeah.
you
Well,
have
and
to choose it.
you don't need anybody to come because you're already here. You're here. That's
Oh,
the
I love that.
permission that you need. And I really do feel like you are just living proof that you can have big, audacious goals and peace of mind. Clearly, that can be fleeting at times, But I feel like most women think it's one or the other. Like I either have these big goals that I'm working toward or I'm comfortable, right? So maybe this is that time. I don't know. But what do you say to the high achiever that's listening right now who feels like slowing down, changing course, deciding to shut it all down and build again if she feels like that's going to make her irrelevant or unsuccessful? And I don't know, maybe this is that time where you share your shift. That's up to you. We got more time. So, but
So
what would you say to her?
here's what I found interesting when I closed my fashion business. And of course, now I'm still in the midst of like, I actually don't know if I'm closing this business. I might just turn into like more of like a personal brand and less of a coaching brand as like
Okay.
a founder and like, you know. But when I made the shift from fashion to coaching, you would think that those two circles don't have any overlap in the Venn diagram.
I mean, if I had to put money on it, I would agree with that. Yeah.
They seem pretty separate.
Yeah.
The amount of people that followed me from fashion into my coaching brand, I
Mm,
literally still have a client today that I met at Phoenix Fashion Week in, I
interesting.
think, 2015. And I've helped her grow her business for the last 9 years.
I
And
would have never guessed.
keeps hitting. And I mean, I've had so many people from my fashion days. In fact, I have a consult for hypnotherapy on Wednesday with a woman that I am 99% sure we connected because, well, like back when I was in fashion. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm
So it's
99%
not
sure.
like you're closing a door.
The people who are invested in like you and your story are going to continue to be invested in you no matter what you do. And
Okay.
that's something that I was super shocked about back then. Now,
Yeah.
what's interesting is like this transition is not nearly going to be as like night and day. What I'm going to do next is still very tangentially related to what I'm currently doing. And so I'm like, oh, I'm not starting over.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm currently running an MVP of this in my current business. I just want to elevate it and again, like take it out of my Bri Seeley business and make it its own business.
Brie,
But
I can't. What is it? Or do I have to have you
so
back in like a few months for you to share? It's just
I'll share a little bit about it, and then if we
okay.
want to have another conversation, we can. So
Okay, cool.
a huge part of what I've done, and we've already talked about this, the identity piece and stuff. I became a hypnotherapist in 2017. And what I have found is that, again, like there's so many things in the subconscious that become those invisible walls for us that we just can't surpass.
Absolutely.
The amount of times I've coached women on imposter syndrome, perfectionism, procrastination, fear of failure, fear of visibility. I mean, I could probably, if I wanted to just do private hypnoses, I could probably have a really full business with that. I don't want to work that much. So, what I've identified as a way to help people overcome these things through basically an app is what I'm going to be building.
Let's
And
go.
so I can currently see like three different revenue streams. I'm not quite sure how it's all going to play out, but I want to dive more into the subconscious blocks that especially ambitious women face
I love
because
it.
they're like we're carrying around all these boulders, these elephants on our backs that are
Absolutely.
crippling us and we're trying to fight through them. And unfortunately, that's just not how the subconscious brain works. So I want to be able to have tools accessible, low priced, 30 days to heal from imposter syndrome, from again, like uprooting these old narratives, shifting the perspective, and then starting to live by the rules that you want to live by in your life.
And that is so powerful because I really do feel like we just carry whatever you want to call them, whether they're boulders, they're heavy backpacks, they're elephants. I feel like all of us, if I could have a meme for it, is like this woman like bent over with just all these things piled on her back, which aren't serving you. They're
Have
keeping
you
you playing small, right?
Have
I
you ever
mean,
seen the movie The Labyrinth with David
yes, yeah,
Bowie?
yeah.
There is a Muppet in that who's this little lady, little old Muppet lady, and she is hunched over and she's a homeless hoarder. So literally, she on her back has this mountain of stuff. And it's exactly as you described.
Yeah.
That's all of us. Like,
Yes.
so much so that I manifested a lovely shoulder injury in October of last year, right? Like, that is all of us. And I don't know about you. I'm just at the point where I'm putting all of it down. Like, I'm like,
Yes.
if it requires me to pick up something heavy by myself, the answer is no.
No, thank you. I don't
Hard
need it.
pass.
I don't need it.
I'll
Well,
go
and
bake
the
a cake
truth about,
instead.
yeah, and the truth about these things is maybe you're carrying it because it has to do with guilt or shoulds, right? Like we should ourselves all the time, or expectations, or, cultural norms, or whatever it happens to be. But if it's not serving you and if it's not authentic to you, then it's just weighing you down. It's just slowing you down. I do what I call the power hour. I'm sure that's a pretty common term, but every Monday morning I sit down for an hour and I plan out my week. And the very, very first thing that I do are the things that are important to me. So I prioritize what's my values are, right? And I schedule those priorities instead of prioritizing my schedule.
Mm,
And I do that with me in mind, my family in mind, my husband in mind, the things that I need to be grounded and to be authentically me in mind. And then it's amazing once you do that, you can make everything else fall into place and it gets done, whatever needs to get done without burning yourself out. But when you're carrying around all of these things, and so we had talked obviously before we started recording about kids, and I had 4 kids, like I mentioned. The amount of like bake sales, room moms, sports team moms, team moms, whatever that I could do. And then I should go to this birthday party. And I should like, okay, no, like what are our real values and what's going to keep us energized and motivated for life and loving the moments that we have? Like, let's put those in first and then let's layer the rest. And when you translate that into business, it's like, girl, you don't have to do all these things that you feel like you should do or that you need to keep doing, or you like, no, no, your life is, I think you said it earlier, like a blip, right? Just a moment. And you get to make of it what you want. And so taking off all of those things we carry allows you to live the life that you want to create and really be in those moments that you want to be in, even if that means, and again, you're an expert at this, pivoting, right? Like massive leap taker, right? Pivoting so that it really is what you want it to be. You only get this one moment. Today is only today for today.
yeah. And I do want to touch on something quickly that you
Yeah.
said. Like, I get too that like this can be a little bit scary as well to
Oh yeah.
say like, okay, so you want me to clear my calendar? Like, or you want me to like not do this thing or not be the mom that does all of the things. Like,
All the things. Yeah.
as we've talked about identity, there is identity wrapped up in being the perfect mom,
Yes.
being
Yes.
the busy entrepreneur, being the all these things. And I just will tell you, if you're listening to this, that's not actually who you are. It's something that you've grown accustomed to doing and you've made it who you are. But underneath all of that, there's an even greater version of you that's waiting to be born. But in order to see her and know her and be her, you have to let go of the identities. You have to let go of being the perfect mom. You have to let go of perfectionism. You have to let go of procrastination. You have to let go of your addiction to being busy and having a full calendar. It's not getting you where you want to go anyways. So
No.
what's the why not just stop doing it?
Well, and I love that, from excuse me, all that I've learned about you and followed with you and learned about you, one of your biggest pieces of advice is to get still, because it's so counterintuitive to high performers, right? And to
Yep.
be honest, I used to think that stillness was a waste of time because I was that. My identity was I did it all, right? Like I owned a business and I was the mom of the year and like all the things. But then I realized that some of my best ideas, the things that were most authentic to me, that was best for my family, came when I wasn't forcing them. I wasn't taking on that heavy boulder or backpack of this identity of being everything, right? So maybe this is for you. How do you actually practice stillness in your own life? And then what changes could we expect by prioritizing a bit of that?
So this comes from someone who is purposefully child-free. So you may be listening to this being like, that's great for this chick, but like that doesn't work for me. So for me, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. is just my time.
Okay.
I shared with you, I work in my shed. Some days I'll stay in the house with the cat and like do my stillness practice in there. But most days I try to come out here. I have a little, just right behind my desk, a little meditation area with my iPod. Yes, I am an elder millennial.
Love
It's
it.
full
Love
of
it.
my meditations on it. I've got my journal. I've got like all the things that I need just right there. So that when I walk in, all I have to do is sit down. Now, for some people, lunchtime might be that time for you. Also, you probably don't need 2 hours. I do 2 hours because I love it. I love it. I love having slow mornings where I just get to prioritize my needs, nourishing my body through, breakfast, through movement, through stillness. And what you can expect in this stillness is that when you are silent, what happens? Your ears open up and you start to listen. And you can expect, this is literally happening with like three of my clients right now. Um, Insights, ahas, next steps, realizations, things are going to come to you that you literally couldn't hear before. You didn't have any space to hear it before, and now you can. I just had a client, she's been doing my future self hypnosis. And a few weeks ago, she got on the call and she was like, this is going to be a really hard call. And I was like, why? What's up? And she's like, so I've been practicing being my future self every single day. And I've realized that my business model isn't the business model that my future self has.
Ooh.
And so she's also dismantling her business right now because she hates it. She was trying to grow it because she's like, well, there's money to be made. Does it matter if you're miserable every day? You hate your clients, you hate your
No.
meetings, you hate like it's not worth it. And so she prioritized 30 days of practicing her future and being in that place of stillness and receptivity and she got clarity. And
I
it's
love that.
happening with friends and other people and it's amazing. I mean, you have to be ready to hear
Yes. I have to be
what
open
you're
to it.
going to hear, but it comes from carving out time.
Well, and you
Put it in
say,
your schedule, y'all.
yes. Well, you
Schedule.
say, yeah, that you don't have kids. I have four. And I don't have 2 hours. I'm sure I could make that happen, but I wake up at 5 for that time. And it's only 30 minutes. And that 30 minutes is glorious. And in fact, one of my clients even says that her stillness, that's not what we call it, but in your words, is her secret weapon because she finally stopped forcing, right? Just following that schedule the next step and the right opportunities started to find her. And I feel the exact same way, but you have to be like you said open and ready to listen, to hear, to follow. Um and it's magical. If you can give yourself that time whatever your life permits, make that a priority. 100%.
And I'll share one last little insight that I had this year that's really shifted my mind. When I was in Arkansas house sitting for two cats, a dog, and 16 chickens, I was meditating one day and I heard this very clear message about, what if this seven-figure business that you've been wanting to move towards and build is not coming from your time and your effort, but rather it's coming from your energy and your mind. And
Yes.
so that like the output isn't always what gets us the results we want. I'll tell you quickly. I opened up my email this morning to this email from this complete stranger saying, "Hey, I see that you lived in Tulsa. I saw this article, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting ready to move to Tulsa. Would you be open to sharing your experience with me? Blah, 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 blah. Oh, and by the way, I'm also looking to connect with people because I do this, 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 and this." The this, and this is that he listed in there were the things that I've been asking for from a
Oh,
potential business partner. And is this guy going to be a business partner? TBD. I don't know. We're
who
meeting on
knows?
Friday. But
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I could have never,
Yeah.
there was no action that I could have taken to force this email to land in my inbox. None. Not this dude and I have nothing in common other than the fact that he's thinking about moving to Tulsa and I currently reside here. Nothing. So me being in the energy of and the identity of that me who runs a tech wellness company, right? Like I haven't taken any actions towards building it yet. My actions have been the energy and
Yes.
the mind and the alignment, and things are starting to land, and I'm not even having to like hustle and run that marathon to invite them in.
I love that. I love it so much. You're listening to another episode of Empowered and Unstoppable. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Are you ready to take your success to the next level? Visit www.meganbonnellcoaching.com. Yeah, Bri, and I love that. And, you have said you don't know what you don't know, right? And that's a perfect story, a perfect example of that, which is both so obvious, I feel like, to us, right? Like you don't know what you don't know, but it's also very, very confronting, right? And when you have this outside perspective in some way, whether it's a mentor or it's a coach, of living the life that you wanted, something completely changes, right? When people allow you to be open to all of that. So, when is a time that you think getting that outside perspective, and maybe it was this story that you just told, but is there any time that somebody has, you talked about a mouse amongst the reeds, and if you just turn, to your left, when is an example of some time that you didn't know what you didn't know? That really being open to the appropriate outside perspective has allowed you to make the right choice.
I mean, having that conversation, and what's funny too is I didn't even know what this woman did. I was literally introduced to her and I thought I was talking to her about something completely different. In April, when this woman was like, yeah, I help people build exitable businesses. And it's like, I didn't even know that that was an option. Like looking at the buffet of life in front of me,
Yeah.
it wasn't even on it. I didn't
Yeah.
even, or maybe there was a space for it, but I didn't know it was going to fill it because it wasn't even something in my head that I had conceptualized before, or not something that I thought was available to me. And so, I'm always gathering new perspectives, new ideas, because I'm like, there's so much that I don't know. In fact, I'm currently in the midst of growing my board for my nonprofit. And I've been doing interviews. I did, I think, 8 interviews last week, and I think I have 10 this week for board members. And I'm like, I'm gonna be real honest. I've never been on a nonprofit board before, much less run one. I have no idea what I'm doing. What I do know is this vision came to me. And what I am doing is pulling the right people around me who do know how to do these things and who are experts in all of their various areas. Because I will tell you, I've been trying to build this thing alone for 2 years and it hasn't gone very well. So now I'm like, okay, what if instead of me trying to carry a 100-pound weight on my own, what if there's 20 of us? Because if
Yes.
20 of us are carrying it, then we're each only holding 5 pounds.
Yes.
And it's the 5 pounds that each of us is uniquely qualified to carry.
Yes.
So when we have people around us that we trust and who are great at their craft, I mean, a huge part of my job as a coach is seeing blind spots or opening up to things to
Yeah.
people to say, have you thought about this or what about that? And like, we can't possibly know all that there is to know, especially with
No.
how quickly the world is moving nowadays. You
Yes.
have to bring people in that know more than you in certain particular areas that are going to be able to contribute to growing you and growing your business more than you can do on your own.
Yes, I think that outside perspective is huge. It'll quiet the story and the narrative that you have that you're just filling in, right? Because you don't know. Let somebody that knows it or that can see it fill it in, and that allows you to focus on that truth, on the things that serve you, on the things that you're good at, right? Whatever the circumstance may be. I love that. Well, Bree, I'm going to throw my closing question at you. Are you ready for this?
Yes, I just
Okay.
hope there's one question that stresses me out, but I'm hoping it's not that one. We'll find
I
out.
don't think it is. But now I'm trying to find that question
I'll
to
tell you what
stress
it
you
is
out. No, I'm kidding. Oh,
later.
well, what is the question? First of all, what is it?
Is there anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
Oh, I wasn't going to ask you that. I
Okay.
wasn't, but I could.
So many people use that as a closing question, and I always know about it, and oddly, I'm never prepared for
And
it.
still you're like, I don't know, all the things. Okay. If you could give every empowered and unstoppable woman, which we all are, right, a magic post-it to stick to her mirror every morning that she would read, what would it say?
I mean, I think it's really simple, and it's just an encouragement of like, if the vision came to you, you have what it takes to bring it to life. Like, you can do it. And I know that sounds a little cliche, but
No.
I think that oftentimes, again, we get lost in those weeds and we forget that, like, the vision for my nonprofit came to me in meditation in 2020. The vision for my TED Talk came to me in meditation in 2020. The vision for my book came to me in meditation in 2017. Like, if an idea comes to us, if you haven't yet read Big Magic, highly recommend.
Such a good book.
Such a good book. If an idea comes to you, granted, you can always say no.
Yes.
Maybe I say yes too often. I don't know. But when an idea comes to you, it's come to you because it's you.
Yes.
Because you have the courage, you have the resilience, you have the knowledge, you have the wisdom to be able to bring it to life. And I think we forget that a lot. Like, I know personally, I forget that a lot. That, like, it came to me, it chose me to be the one to bring it to life. Now, again, at the end of the day, I can always be like, peace out, thanks so much, but like, go find someone
Of
else.
course. Yeah.
But also, I can look in the mirror and be like, oh, yeah, it's me. I can do this.
I love that. Absolutely. It's me. I can do this. That's perfect. I love it. Well, Bri, thank you so much for joining us. This conversation was just pure gold. And I know that our listeners are walking away with not just inspiration, but actual steps, things that they can put into place that they can start right now to start designing that life that fits them instead of the other way around. And if our listeners want some more Bri, I do. I know that for sure. Where do we go? What do we do?
So, a few things. One, as things are kind of in flux and transition for me, things are a little unfinished in my life, on my website, things like that. You can go to my website, briseeley.com. I don't know the state that it will be in when you go to it, so
Okay.
TBD.
It's okay.
Instagram and currently TikTok, although maybe TikTok's going away next month.
We're
I
not
don't know.
sure. We're not sure.
One of the places. But if
Yeah.
you look me up on any social media, I'm pretty much the only Bri Seeley. And I have an app now. It's called Big Goal Energy.
Big
And so
goal
you can
energy.
go, whether you have Android or Apple, you can go to your app store and hop on Big Goal Energy. There's some free resources in there. There's some paid resources in there. And it's growing and building momentum as we speak.
I love it. I love it. And if you are a book reader, I can tell you that Permission to Leap is an amazing book. So if you're looking for that next stellar read, grab your copy, get your next transformation. I'm going to go check out Big Goal Energy because that sounds amazing. So let's all do that together. And all of that will be in the show notes, my friends. So, of course, you can go and look, and there'll be links and all of that for you to reach out. But reach out because it might just be the very next step that you absolutely needed. And to everybody listening, if you loved this episode, then please subscribe, share it with other powerhouse women that you know in your life need to hear this message. You can tag me on Instagram, Megan Bennell Coaching, so that I can cheer you on. Tag Bri as well. We can both cheer you on. And just remember that you're not here to play small. You're not here to play with someone else's rules, and you're definitely not here to burn out. So you're here to be empowered. You're here to be unstoppable. You're already capable of being both of those things and fully alive. So until next week, I hope that you have an amazing week. You take this message from Bri and you absolutely run with it and become a professional leaper, just like Bri. All right, my friends, I will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Empowered and Unstoppable. If today's episode spoke to you, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a friend who needs a boost of empowerment. Are you ready to take your success to the next level? Visit www.meganbennellcoaching.com. Remember, you're not just capable, you're unstoppable. See you next time.